When the doctors first said this word, Linda Victoria felt like the earth was slipping away from under her feet. Cancer. The word sounded too calm, as if the diagnosis was just a formality, one of the points on her medical chart. But for her, everything collapsed in an instant. The doctor explained something about the stage, about the need for urgent treatment, about how the prognosis was not bad if therapy was started right away. But all she heard was a buzzing in her ears. She sat opposite him in the sterile oncology office at Northwestern Memorial Hospital and clutched her purse with her fingers as if it were a life preserver. Her first impulse was to call her son. Max was 38. He had a good job at a tech company, a family, as a son. It seemed that right now he should be there, because she was the only one left. With trembling hands, she dialed his number on her iPhone. Hello. Her son's voice sounded hurried. Max, I'm at the hospital. I have something very important to tell you. Mom, I'm in a Zoom meeting. Can you text me later? The line went dead. And she never said, I have cancer. Linda Victoria sat in her Honda Civic in the hospital parking lot and cried for the first time in many years. Not because of the diagnosis, but because her own son couldn't spare 2 minutes. Endless weeks of examinations, tests, and waiting began at the University of Chicago Medicine Cancer Center. On the appointed day, she was connected to the IV system for the first time. A clear liquid slowly dripped down the tube, as if counting down the time. The same people were sitting around her in the infusion center, but not alone. They had husbands, wives, children, grandchildren. Someone was holding their hand. Someone was covering them with a blanket. Someone was quietly scrolling through Facebook next to them. And she only had an empty chair beside her. Who's picking you up? The nurse asked. Inserting the needle. My son's running late. She lied. In fact, she had driven there herself from her Lincoln Park apartment and knew she would Uber home herself. Her head was spinning. Her hands were shaking. But she had no choice through the Chicago traffic. Each time, after the procedures, she returned to an empty apartment. A pill organizer with medications lay neatly on the kitchen counter next to her iPhone, where she tracked her appointment schedule through the MyChart app. She made the schedule herself, checked off the boxes herself, ordered light meals from DoorDash when the nausea allowed her to eat. The first weeks she hoped that maybe Max would come to his senses and visit, but there were no visits. Sometimes she called her daughter-in-law Ariana and heard a cold, even voice on the line. Linda, we are super busy right now. Max is working from home. Little Sergio has soccer practice. And I have my own consulting work to handle. We will definitely stop by as soon as possible. There was no time for this as soon as possible. Sometimes she sat in her dark apartment and talked to Alexa, just to hear at least some voice. Her iPhone was silent. To her email inbox empty, except for medical appointment reminders. On the 4th week, her hair started falling out. She woke up in the morning and saw strands of hair on her pillow. She picked them up and couldn't hold back a sob. In desperation, she called her son again. Max, my hair is falling out. I'm scared. Mom, that's normal with chemo. Stop being dramatic. I have a client call now. Let's talk tonight. There was no tonight. He didn't call back. She went to a salon on Michigan Avenue and asked to have her head shaved. The stylist suggested choosing a wig. Linda Victoria chose a modest option for $200. Money that she regretted spending, but without which she felt like a stranger in the mirror. Returning home on the Red Line, she looked at the shop windows with mannequins in dresses and caught herself thinking they were happier than she was. The hardest thing was the loneliness in the oncology wing. There, everyone had their own person, a woman with her sister, a grandmother with her granddaughter, a man with his wife. Everyone came with insulated cups from Starbucks, with blankets, with snacks from Whole Foods. She sat with an empty look. clutching only a coach bag with medical documents. One day, a nurse asked quietly, "Is it true that no one comes with you, not your son?" "Not a friend." "No. Someone was supposed to come today but couldn't make it." She lied again, knowing that nurses rotated shifts constantly. The truth was, she had no one left. Every morning, looking at herself in the bathroom mirror, she whispered, "You are strong. You can handle it." But inside, resentment grew, not because of the illness, not because of the pain and weakness, but because those closest to her pretended that she was no longer there. The letter arrived by regular mail in a white envelope with a law firm's letterhead. Linda Victoria almost threw it in the recycling bin, deciding it was junk mail. But in the corner was Patterson and Associates, attorneys at law, Sarasota, Florida. Opening it, she read, "We regret to inform you of the death of your brother Alexander Victoria and request your presence for the reading of his will." Her hands began to tremble. She had not seen her brother for a long time. The last time was at her husband's funeral. Then everything somehow got lost in resentments, distance, and rare phone calls. And now death. A week later, she was sitting in the law office in Sarasota after flying down on Southwest Airlines. A professional woman in glasses read out the legal document. Alexander Victoria had bequeathed all his property to his sister, a beachfront house in Sarasota, bank accounts at Wells Fargo and Bank of America, investment portfolios, even a collection of artwork that had been stored in climate-controlled storage. "So all of this is now mine?" Linda Victoria asked, not believing her ears. "After 6 months from the date of probate. Subject to your acceptance." "Yes," the attorney answered calmly. The words sounded surreal. For so many months, she had lived with the thought of surviving until the next scan, holding out for another week of treatment, and suddenly a future, a real future that could be planned. These 6 months of waiting flew by in a foggy mixture of procedures and legal paperwork. The doctors at Northwestern used the word remission more and more often. Her strength returned slowly. But for the first time in a long time, she allowed herself to think, what if I start a new life? When the day came for her to take possession, she was handed a stack of documents and keys. The keys jingled in her palm. Heavy. Real. She flew JetBlue to Sarasota and still could not believe that ahead was not another hospital appointment, but the Gulf of Mexico. The house turned out to be spacious, with floor-to-ceiling windows that opened onto a view of the endless blue water. The landscaped yard was blooming with palm trees and bougainvillea, smelling of salt air and sunshine. For the first time in many years, Linda Victoria smiled sincerely. She walked through the rooms and whispered Alex, "Thank you." The first days were like a dream. In the morning, coffee on the lanai with seagulls crying overhead. In the evening, long walks along the white sand beach. She felt like a person again, not a patient. The neighbors quickly learned about the new owner. Elderly Violet from the house next door brought homemade key lime pie and said, "It's good that Alex's house isn't empty. He always said, the main thing is that my sister is okay." These words warmed her more than the Florida sun. But the joy did not last long. A month later, Max called. "Mom, I heard you moved to Florida. Congratulations. The house must be amazing." His voice sounded artificially friendly. "Yes, Max. You should come visit." "Of course. We'll come down. We're just swamped right now. But know that we're happy for you." Soon, Ariana called. "Linda, what incredible luck. A beach house. It must be hard being there all alone. We should really help you get organized down there." The tone was sweet, but there was clear interest behind it. Linda Victoria felt a chill. Where there had been indifference before, there was now attention. Too persistent attention. She looked at the Gulf and understood, this house, this inheritance is not only a gift, but also a test. Because where there is money and property, there always appear those who want to control it. Max came to Sarasota for the first time in many years. Linda Victoria waited for him with hope. Let him see how well she had settled in. Maybe family feelings would awaken after all. But from the first minutes, it felt like a performance. "Mom. Wow. The house is gorgeous," he said, walking through the rooms and appraising the furniture with his eyes. "You're all alone here. That must be difficult." Ariana smiled, her Instagram perfect smile. "Yes, Linda. You really need help. It's easier for younger people to handle household management and legal documents." She listened to them and understood this wasn't about caring, it was about control. A week later, she learned from her neighbor Violet that Ariana had approached her with questions. "Can you believe it?" Violet asked. "She wanted to know if I'd noticed any issues with you, like forgetting to pay bills or getting confused." I told her, "What are you talking about? Linda is the sharpest person in this whole neighborhood." Linda Victoria felt ice in her chest. Then came another incident. The doctor at her new oncology practice in Sarasota mentioned casually, "Your daughter-in-law called. She was asking about your cognitive function, whether there were any memory problems." Of course. I told her everything was fine. But it was an odd inquiry. Every day, the puzzle came together. Max and Ariana were planning to have her declared incompetent. One evening, while organizing papers in the home office, Linda Victoria found an envelope someone had clumsily hidden among old documents, apparently hoping she wouldn't notice. Inside was a draft petition, request for guardianship, due to incompetence. There was Ariana's sworn statement alleging that Linda Victoria forgot to turn off appliances, got lost driving. I couldn't manage her finances. All lies. She reread the legal language and couldn't believe it. Her own son was preparing to legally strip her of the right to control her own life. At that moment, it became clear that indifference had only been half the problem. When greed was added to indifference, it became betrayal. She barely slept that night, remembering holding little Max's hand. How he used to say, in childhood, "Mommy, I'll never leave you." And now he and his wife were scheming to steal her life. In the morning, Linda Victoria got up determined. When Max and Ariana showed up for another visit, she greeted them calmly, even smiled. But at the right moment, she took out the papers and placed them on the glass coffee table. "Explain what this is." Her voice was quiet but steel. Max went pale. Ariana spoke rapidly. "You're misunderstanding. We were only thinking about protection in case your health suddenly declined." "Protection," Linda Victoria interrupted coldly. "Or a convenient way to take everything you want." Silence filled the room. She looked at them and suddenly felt the fear disappear, replaced by strength. After that confrontation, Linda Victoria waited. Knowing Max and Ariana wouldn't give up, they had looked at the beachfront property too hungrily, spoken too easily about what's best for you, words that barely concealed their greed. A few days later, what she expected happened. Returning from Publix in the evening, Linda Victoria saw that the security gate was open. Lights were on in the house. She quietly entered through the side door and froze. Ariana was going through the bedroom closets. "What are you doing here?" she demanded. Ariana startled, but quickly recovered. "We're family. Linda, I just wanted to check on things here." Without my permission, Linda Victoria took out her iPhone with trembling hands and dialed 911. "Hello. Someone has entered my home without permission. Please send officers." The Sarasota County Sheriff's deputies arrived within 15 minutes. The officers documented unlawful entry. Ariana tried to justify herself. "This is my mother-in-law. I was just trying to help." "Doesn't matter under Florida law," the deputy said calmly. "Entering someone's residence without the owner's consent is criminal trespass." Max rushed in later. After the incident report was filed, he was furious, trying to persuade his mother not to press charges. But Linda Victoria firmly signed the complaint. After the police intervention, everything changed. Linda Victoria no longer felt like a vulnerable, elderly woman who could be intimidated. Now she knew the law was on her side. The next day, she contacted Morrison and Associates, a law firm specializing in elder law. A sharp attorney named Rebecca Martinez listened carefully and said, "You have strong grounds to protect yourself. We'll document everything officially, both the trespassing and the attempted financial exploitation. Plus, I'll help you update your will and establish a trust so that any challenge will result in automatic disinheritance." Together, they prepared ironclad legal documents. Within a week, Ring cameras and a Simply Safe security system were installed. Every corner of the house was now monitored, and any uninvited visitors would be recorded. The Sarasota County Sheriff's Office opened a case for criminal trespass. Ariana was charged as a defendant. Max was furious, calling his mother repeatedly, trying to get her to drop the charges, insisting we're family, and there was no need for legal drama. "Family," she answered calmly, "is when people support you in crisis. Where were you for 2 years when I was fighting cancer?" Silence on the line. Word that Linda Victoria had involved law enforcement spread quickly through the gated community. The neighbors began treating her with newfound respect, a woman with backbone who wouldn't be victimized. Meanwhile, Max and Ariana's life in Chicago began unraveling. He was terminated from his tech job. The company didn't appreciate employees involved in criminal cases and negative publicity. The mortgage payments became impossible. Credit card bills piled up. Their marriage started cracking under financial pressure. Ariana blamed Max for his weakness, for allowing everything to escalate to criminal charges. Only one person truly suffered in this mess, her grandson, little Sergio. Linda Victoria knew it wasn't his fault that his parents had chosen greed over love. One evening, the phone rang, the caller ID showing a number she didn't recognize. She answered and heard a small voice, "Grandma, it's me, Sergio." Her heart ached. "Sweetheart, how are you doing?" "Good. I just wanted to say that I know you love me, even if Mom and Dad said you don't anymore." Tears filled her eyes. "Of course I love you," she whispered. After the call, Linda Victoria sat on her lanai for a long time. Watching the Gulf waves, there was something liberating in that eternal rhythm. Now she knew that real life had finally begun. She no longer depended on her son's whims or waited for calls that would never come. She controlled her own home, her time, her destiny. Max and Ariana were trapped by their mistakes and ambitions, their marriage failing. Career destroyed. Dreams of easy inheritance shattered. But Linda Victoria had the Gulf, her beautiful home, and most importantly, freedom. She smiled through her tears, watching dolphins play in the distance. True inheritance isn't money or property. It's the power to say no to those who want to destroy your life. Story 2. You are on the channel Fateful Stories. I wish you health and pleasant listening. Svetlana Mikhailovna Krylova stood at the mirror in the bedroom, adjusting her white gold earrings. Today, Andrei turned 35, and she was preparing for another test. Over 5 years of DRAC, she learned to read her mother-in-law's mood by the sound of her steps in the hallway. And today, these steps sounded especially ominous. The apartment was impeccably cleaned. The table was set for 8 people. Andrei Gotov's favorite dish. Svetlana worked as a translator in a large international company, and her organizational skills always helped out in such situations. But Valentina Sergeevna managed to find a flaw even in a perfectly organized event. The doorbell rang exactly at 7:00. Svetlana opened it and saw the familiar face of her mother-in-law, and next to her was an unfamiliar young woman of about 20 franked. "Dear Svetochka," Valentina Sergeevna drawled, kissing her on the cheek. "Meet Ksenia, Andrei's colleague at work. Such a smart girl. A top-notch programmer." Ksenia extended her hand and firmly shook Svetlana's palm. The girl was stylishly dressed, with impeccable makeup and an expensive watch on her wrist. Very nice. Svetlana smiled. Letting the guests into the apartment, Andrei never told her about you. Oh. We work in different departments. Ksenia quickly answered, looking around the interior. But Valentina Sergeyevna told her a lot about you. Svetlana mentally winced. Knowing his mother-in-law, these stories were far from flattering. Andrei came out of the shower when the other guests had already gathered at the table. Svetlana's parents arrived from the dacha, bringing homemade preserves. Andrei's sister Olga and her husband were traditionally half an hour late. The company was familiar, but Ksenia's presence brought a strange tension. Andreyusha, my dear Valentina Sergeyevna exclaimed. As soon as the birthday boy sat down at the table, look what a beauty came to us. Ksenia works in your company. Can you imagine? Andrei looked at the girl in surprise. Excuse me, but what department do you work in? I thought I knew everyone. Ksenia didn't lose her head in the new AI project. We just launched. Svetlana noticed Andrei frown. The company's exit was not the POI project. She knew that for sure. Her husband regularly talked about work. Mom, why are you inviting strangers to my birthday party? Andrei asked quietly. What do you mean strangers? Valentina Sergeyevna was indignant. Ksenia is a wonderful girl. Educated from a good family. Not that. She looked meaningfully at Svetlana. Mom. Stop it. Andrei said tiredly. Stop what? Tell the truth. Valentina Sergeyevna's voice was getting louder. 5 years have passed. And where are the children? Where are the grandchildren? She is ruining your career with her whims. Valentina Sergeyevna. Svetlana said calmly. Andrei and I decide our family issues ourselves. Ah. You decide. The mother-in-law got up from the table. She's got you under her thumb. Andrei, look at Ksenia. That woman is smart. Beautiful. Hard-working. Ksenia looked down in embarrassment. But Svetlana noticed how carefully she was studying the reactions of everyone present. Mom. That's inappropriate. Andrei Tlezha said. Inappropriate. Valentina Sergeyevna was already in full swing. And the fact that your wife works at an incomprehensible job and brings incomprehensible money into the house, is that appropriate? And the fact that she drives you away from your mother, is it appropriate? What does incomprehensible money mean? Svetlana asked coldly. And I know that I know. Her mother-in-law said inquisitively. Do you think I don't notice your expensive outfits? Where does a simple translator get money for such jewelry? Svetlana mechanically touched Seryoga. They really were expensive. A gift from Grandma for the wedding. Valentina Sergeyevna. You are crossing the line, said Mother Svetlana. My daughter earns money privately. Your daughter, snorted the mother-in-law. 5 years ago she came from her province with nothing. And now she is acting like a queen there. Mom. Stop it immediately. Andrei barked. But it was too late. He would have been better off marrying a dog. Valentina Sergeyevna yelled. You point a finger at Svetlana. At least the dog loves its owner. And doesn't count his money. Silence hung over the table. Even the always talkative Olga fell silent. Svetlana's parents looked at their mother-in-law in horror. Svetlana slowly rose from the table. Her hands did not tremble. Her voice remained calm. Valentina Sergeyevna. She began quietly, but so that every word was heard by everyone present. You are right. It would have been better if he had married the dog. The mother-in-law straightened up triumphantly. Thinking that Svetlana was admitting defeat? That's right. Because the dog, Svetlana continued, without raising her voice. I wouldn't have accidentally found out, while looking through your family photographs, that 30 years ago you had made up documents about your sister's death and appropriated her child. Valentina Sergeyevna's face lengthened. The dog wouldn't notice that you and Andrei have different blood types. Although, according to you, you are his biological mother. Andrei turned sharply to Svetlana. Then, to his mother. And the dog definitely wouldn't understand. Svetlana paused, staring straight into her mother-in-law's eyes. Why did you hire a private detective to gather dirt on me? All eyes turned to Ksenia, who turned pale. Svetlana. What are you talking about? Andrei asked. Confused. That your mother has been paying Miss Volkova for the last 6 months to find out if I'm cheating on you and if there's anything criminal behind my work. That's true, isn't it? Ksenia Andreevna, the one who was detected, sat with his head down. But the most interesting thing is that Svetlana's voice became harsher. That your search led to rather unexpected results. Didn't it? Valentina Sergeyevna, the mother-in-law, grabbed the back of the chair. Cold sweat appeared on her face. I don't understand what you're talking about. Do you understand? How do you understand? Because Miss Volkova found out not only that I'm crystal clear with my husband, but also that you owe 2 microfinance organizations almost 1 million rubles, and that you were counting on Andrei getting a divorce so that he would sell this apartment and give you half the money to pay off the debts. Olga gasped. Svetlana's parents exchanged glances. That's not true. Valentina Sergeyevna screamed. It's true. Svetlana answered calmly. And I have all the documents, including the receipts you signed at the pawn shops, pawning Andrei's mother's jewelry. Andrei turned pale. Mom's jewelry. But you said they were in a safe deposit box. Andrei. Svetlana said softly. Your mother sold your real mother's necklace and bracelet 2 years ago. And my real mother lied to you. Andrei slowly turned to the woman he had considered his mother all his life. What did she mean? Valentina Sergeyevna collapsed on the table. Andreyusha. It's not what you think. Then what is this? Andrei's voice was shaking. Svetlana went to the dresser and took out a folder with documents. Your mother was 22 when she died in a car accident. You were dry. Valentina Sergeyevna. Her younger sister. She took you in to raise. But instead of officially formalizing guardianship, she forged documents, posing as your mother. Why? Andrei whispered. Because your mother left you an apartment and a bank account as an inheritance, and the minor heir needs a guardian. How much easier could it be to become a mother? Svetlana put the death certificate, the hospital certificate, and the extracts from the house register on the table. Ms. Volkova found all of this in the archives in 2 weeks. It's amazing how quickly the truth can be restored when you know what to look for. Ksenia suddenly raised her head. I'm giving up this case, she said firmly. Valentina Sergeyevna, our contract is terminated. I'm not sending you an invoice. Ksenia Andreevna. Svetlana stopped her. It's too early. Do you have any information for us on the second question? The detective looked at her uncertainly. Tell Andrei what you found out about his extra meetings. Andrei jumped up. What meetings about your trips to the gym on Tuesdays and Thursdays? Said Svetlana, who is not really a gym. Svetlana. Can I explain? No need. Ms. Volkova had already explained. You're dating Maxim Volkov. That is, our guest's brother. There was a dead silence. So what? Svetlana asked defiantly. Do you think I'm going to make a scene? Scream. Cry. Break dishes. Andrei looked at her in confusion. I didn't plan it. It just happened. I know, and I know that you've been suffering from this for 6 months now. And that you wanted to tell me. But you were afraid. Where are you from, Andrei? I've been your wife for 5 years. Do you think I didn't notice how you changed? How you became withdrawn, nervous, how you stopped touching me. Svetlana glanced at the silent guests. But I didn't start following them or hiring detectives. I just waited for you to be ready to talk. Svetlana. Andrei began. And here's your mother. Svetlana looked at Valentina Sergeyevna and decided to act in her own way. She hired Ksenia Andreevna to prove that I am to blame for all your problems. That I am a bad wife who cheats on her husband and earns dishonest money. I need to know this. The mother-in-law croaked. I was thinking. You were thinking about your debts. Svetlana interrupted her, and about how to make Andrei divorce me in order to get money from the sale of the apartment. This is not so. This is exactly so. I have your correspondence with the collectors and recordings of phone conversations where you promised to pay off after your son's divorce. Svetlana turned to her husband. Andrei, we need to have a serious talk. But not here and not now. Svetlana, I know. And I'm not mad at you. I'm mad at myself for allowing this woman to poison our lives for 5 years in a row. She looked at her mother-in-law again. And now about your debts. Valentina Sergeyevna, tomorrow morning you will receive an official notification that all your debts have been bought out. I have become the new creditor. My mother-in-law caught her breath. That I bought out your debts. Now you owe me 900,000 rubles. And I am not as patient as a microfinance organization. Where did you get that kind of money? Valentina Sergeyevna whispered. Svetlana smiled for the first time that evening. And this dear mother-in-law? You'll find out tomorrow. Along with the terms of the loan repayment, she took her purse and headed for the exit. Svetlana, where are you going? Andrei became alarmed. Home to my parents. We both need time to think. What about the party? The party is over. Svetlana said, putting on her coat. Happy birthday. Andrei, see you tomorrow. She walked out, leaving behind a stunned silence. Svetlana woke up in her childhood room in her parents' house on the outskirts of Moscow. The birch trees rustled outside the window, and for the first time in many months, she felt calm. The phone was ringing off the hook with Andrei's calls, but she was not yet ready to talk. At breakfast, Svetochka's mother asked her cautiously, where did you get the money to pay off this woman's debts? Svetlana put down her cup of tea. Mom, do you remember Grandma Vera? Of course. Your paternal grandmother. May she rest in peace. She left me more than just jewelry. She bequeathed me her share of the family business. My father raised his eyebrows in surprise. What deal? We thought she only had a pension. She had a share in the company her father founded at the beginning of the last century. Grain trading. After the revolution, the business was, of course, nationalized. But in the 90s, the founder's grandchildren were able to restore the rights. Grandma got her share. But she didn't tell anyone about it. Svetlana took a folder of documents out of her bag. After her death, the notary found me and explained the situation. I inherited 12% of the shares of the trading company Kolade. Do you know this company? My mother gasped. Krade was one of the largest grain trading companies in the country. But why didn't you tell anyone? Because you wanted to understand who loves me and who has my money. I received an inheritance a month before I met Andrei and decided to test his feelings. And what did the test show? That Andrei is an honest man. He fell in love with me without money and remained faithful when I had it. Although he himself did not know it. The problem is not with him. The problem is with his so-called mother and the fact that he cannot be honest with himself. Father thoughtfully shook his head. What are you going to do now? First, I'll sort things out with Valentina Sergeyevna. Then I'll have a heart-to-heart talk with Andrei. At 10 a.m., Svetlana was already at the office of the law firm on Tverskaya. She was met by Igor Vladimirovich Sokolov, the lawyer with whom she had been working for the past 2 years. Preparing for this day, everything is ready. Svetlana Mikhailovna, he said, handing over a package of documents. Valentina Sergeyevna Krylova's debts have been officially assigned to you. The amount is 917,000 rubles with interest. Excellent. And the second question, the house that she mortgaged as collateral for the loan, is being put up for auction tomorrow. The starting price is 1 lambe. Ling ling ling. With your budget, there will be no problems with the purchase. Good. And third, a statement about fraud with documents. The adoption is ready. As soon as you give the command, we will submit it to the prosecutor's office. Svetlana nodded and put the documents in her bag. At 11:30, her phone rang. It was Andrei. Svetlana. I need to see you. Please. Okay. Let's meet at the cafe on Arbat where we met. In an hour. Andrei was already sitting at their old table when she arrived. He looked terrible. Hadn't slept. Hadn't shaved. His eyes were red. Svetlana. Forgive me. He began as soon as she sat up. For what exactly? For everything. For letting your mother humiliate you. For hiding the truth about myself from you. For being a coward. Svetlana ordered coffee and looked closely at her husband. Andrei, tell me about Maxim. He shuddered, but didn't look away. We met 6 months ago at a programming training. He works for another company, but we sometimes crossed paths at professional events. At first, we just talked. Then we started meeting as friends. And when did you realize it was more than friendship? About 3 months ago. Svetlana, I don't understand what's happening to me. I love you. Do you love me? But not as a man and a woman. Andrei winced painfully. Maybe. I don't know. I'm confused. And you're not confused with Maxim. No. He answered quietly. Everything is clear with him. Svetlana nodded. So the answer is obvious. But what about us, our marriage? 5 years together. Andrei. These 5 years were not a mistake. We were both looking for ourselves. You found the answer to your main question. I found mine. What is your question? Can people be trusted? You proved that they can. You are an honest, decent person who simply could not understand himself for a long time. It is not your fault. Andrei rubbed his eyes. Svetlana, how did you find out about the detective and about Mom's debts? I hired my own detective 6 months ago when I realized that something was wrong. You were watching me. Your mother? You changed. Became nervous. Withdrawn. I thought she was putting more pressure on you than usual. And decided to find out what she was planning. Svetlana took a sip of coffee. It turned out she had much more in mind than I had assumed. The detective found out about the debts, and the forged documents, and about Ksenia Volkova. And Ksenia, without wanting to, brought me to Maxim. Are you angry with me? No. I'm angry with myself for not talking to you earlier. Maybe you wouldn't have suffered for so long. What will happen now? We'll get a divorce. In a civilized manner. Without scandals. The apartment will remain yours. She's already yours by inheritance from your real mother. I won't lay claim to anything. Svetlana. Andrei. I won't go broke. I have my own funds. What funds? Mom was right, that you hide your income. Svetlana told him about the inheritance. Andrei listened. His eyes wide open. 12% con la rate. But that's millions. Tens of millions. But that's not the point. The thing is, I wanted to be sure that you married me for love. Not for convenience. And you tested me for 5 years. The first 2 years. Yes. Then, I just didn't see the point in telling you. We were happy. We didn't need the money. And now we'll need it to solve the problem with your aunt. Andrei shuddered. She really isn't my mother. Really? Your mother died when you were 3. Valentina Sergeyevna took you in, but registered you as her son in order to gain access to the inheritance. What inheritance? Your mother left you an apartment and a bank deposit. Valentina Sergeyevna withdrew the deposit when you turned 18. But she didn't tell you about it. How much was there? Quite a lot at that time. Now it's about 1.5 million rubles. Andrei turned pale. She stole 1.5 million from me. Legally. Yes. In fact, she spent it on your upbringing, education, and maintenance. But she should have done this as a guardian. Reporting to the guardianship authorities, they are like a mother, managing the money at her own discretion. And now what? Now I give you a choice. Svetlana took documents out of her bag. I can file a complaint about fraud, Valentina Sergeyevna will be jailed for several years. Her debts will remain hers. The house will be sold at auction. And the second option, I take her debts on myself. Become her creditor. Buy her house at auction and then decide what to do with it. I won't initiate a criminal case. But she will know that I can do it at any moment. Why do you need this? Because for 30 years, she considered me weak and stupid. I want to show her who is really in control of the situation. Andrei was silent for a long time. Choose the second option. He finally said, she treated me badly, but she still raised me. I don't want her to go to jail. Fine. Then tomorrow morning she will receive a notice of a change of creditor and an offer to meet to discuss the terms of repayment. What terms you'll see. I want to give you a parting gift. They sat in the cafe for another hour. Discussing the details of the divorce and future plans, Andrei told about Maxim, Svetlana about her projects. You know. Andrei said goodbye. It's strange, but I feel free for the first time in many years. That's good. It means we both made the right choice. The next morning, Svetlana received a call from the courier service. The documents were delivered to Valentina Sergeyevna. Half an hour later, the phone rang. What does this mean? The mother-in-law screamed into the receiver. What does this mean? This means that your debts now belong to me. And I want to meet with you to discuss a repayment schedule. What schedule? I don't have the money. I know. So, I suggest alternative methods of payment. Let's meet today at 2:00 p.m. at the Praga Cafe. Don't be late. Valentina Sergeyevna arrived exactly at 2. She looked depressed overnight, as if she had aged 10 years. Sit down. Svetlana suggested, want some coffee? I don't need your coffee. Say what you want. I want justice. 30 years ago, you appropriated someone else's identity and money. 5 years ago, you started ruining my life. It's time to pay. I gave Andrei a home, an education, and an upbringing. You gave him what any guardian is obliged to give, but not as a guardian, but under the guise of lies. And you spent not your own money on it, but his mother's money. Svetlana put a calculator on the table. 917 000 debt, plus 15 millions stolen inheritance. Total 2. 917 000 rubles. Do you agree with the calculation? Where did you get that kind of money to buy out other people's debts? Valentina Sergeyevna wheezed. It's none of your business. Your business is to find a way to pay. I don't have that kind of money. I know. That's why I suggest another option. Svetlana took another folder out of her bag. Tomorrow, your house is up for auction. The starting price is 1 lambe. Ling ling ling. I'll buy it. And then what? And then you'll have a choice. Either you move into this house as a tenant, pay me a modest rent and behave yourself, or you look for a place to live on your own. And I rent the house out to other people. You want to make me your tenant. I want to give you a chance to save face. All your neighbors will think you're still living in your house. In reality, you'll be living in my house on my terms. Under what conditions? The first condition, you never interfere in Andrei's personal life again. We are getting a divorce. This is our decision. If I hear even one bad word about me, I will evict you without a word. Valentina Sergeyevna swallowed. The second condition, you tell Andrei the truth about his origins, the whole truth about what happened to his mother, where she is buried, what kind of family she had. Why? Because he has the right to know his history. And he may have living relatives. The third condition, you get a job, any, but officially, and start paying off the debt in installments. At my age, who will hire me? They will. I have friends who need experienced consultants. The salary is small, but enough to live on. Valentina Sergeyevna was silent for a long time. And if I refuse, then I will file a complaint with the prosecutor's office about fraud with documents. You will be imprisoned. The house will still be sold for debts. But the money will go to the creditors, not to me. And Andrei will learn the truth from the criminal case materials, not from you. You are calculating. I am a person who is tired of tolerating your rudeness. You have 24 hours to think about it. I am expecting an answer tomorrow at this time. Svetlana stood up and put the money for the coffee on the table. And Valentina Sergeyevna, Andrei is a good person. He grew up good, not because of you. But in spite of you, remember this. In the evening, Svetlana was working in her home office when Andrei called. Svetlana, your mother has been crying for 3 hours now. What did you tell her? Did she tell you the truth? Not yet. She just cries and says that you ruined her life. Andrei, your aunt lived on lies for 30 years. Now the lies are over. And that's why she's crying. Tomorrow she'll decide whether to tell you the truth herself or let the prosecutor do it. You will really sue her if she chooses the hard way. Yes. But I hope she turns out to be smarter than she seems. Svetlana. What? Thank you for not making me choose between the truth and my family. For giving her a chance to improve. Don't thank me. I'm not doing this for her. I'm doing this for you. After the conversation, Svetlana leaned back in her chair and looked out the window. Tomorrow, Valentina Sergeyevna's fate will be decided. The day after tomorrow, she and Andrei would file for divorce. And then a new life would begin without lies, without fears, without the need to prove her right to respect. For the first time in 5 years, Svetlana felt truly free. The next day, at 2:00 p.m., Valentina Sergeyevna was sitting in the same cafe, but she looked completely different. Instead of yesterday's confusion, her eyes showed determination. I agree to your conditions, she said, without waiting for a greeting. To everything. I will live in the house as a tenant. Get a job. Tell Andrei the truth. Svetlana looked at her carefully. And what made you make this decision? I thought about it all night. Andrei. The only thing I have, if I lose him because of my pride, I'll have nothing left. Okay, then let's start with work. Tomorrow at 10:00 a.m., you come to the office of the family consultant company on Bolshaya Dimitrovka. There you will have an interview for the position of a family relations consultant. Valentina Sergeyevna raised her eyebrows in surprise. Family consultant. But I don't have a special education. But you have a wealth of experience in destroying families. Now you will try to help strengthen them. Salary 30,000 rubles. Flexible schedule. Of this money, you will give me 10,000 to pay off the debt. And what will I live on 20,000 plus pension? Rent for the house is 5,000 per month. In total, you will have about 40,000 left. Quite enough for a modest life. Svetlana took the contract out of her bag. All the conditions are written here. Read carefully. Valentina Sergeyevna ran her eyes over the text. And what is this clause about the inadmissibility of interference in the personal life of third parties? This means that if you try to quarrel Andrei with Maxim or find him another wife, our contract is terminated, and you will find yourself on the street with a debt of 5 million. I understand. And when will you tell Andrei about his mother's inheritance tonight? Along with the rest of the truth. He will hate me. Perhaps. But he will have the right to make his own choice. To forgive you or not. For now, you have taken that right away from him. Valentina Sergeyevna signed the contract with a trembling hand. That evening, Svetlana sat in Andrei's living room and watched as Valentina Sergeyevna gathered her courage. Maxim was here too. Andrei decided that he had the right to know the whole truth about the family he might join. Andreyusha. Valentina Sergeyevna began. What I'm going to tell you now will change your perception of me. You might start to hate me, Mom, what are you saying? I'm not your mom. She interrupted. I am your aunt. Your real mother's younger sister. Andrei turned pale. Although he was ready for this confession, your mother's name was Anna. Anna Sergeyevna Krylova. She was 5 years older than me. Beautiful. Smart. Kind. She married your father, Mikhail Petrovich Sokolov, at 19. Sokolov. So my last name is not Krylov. By birthright Sokolov. But I registered you as Krylova to make it easier with the documents. Valentina Sergeyevna took an old photograph out of her bag. Here are your parents at the wedding. Andrei took the photograph with trembling hands. There was a young couple in the picture. A girl with his eyes and a man with his features. What happened to them? A car accident. You were 3 years old. The three of you were driving to visit us at the dacha. Mikhail lost control on a slippery road. The car flew into a ditch. Your parents died immediately. You survived. Sitting in a child seat in the back, Andrei looked at the photo, unable to utter a word. I was supposed to formalize guardianship and raise you as a nephew, but Anna left you an apartment and a bank account. And a minor heir needs a guardian who will account for expenses. And you decided to become my mother to manage the money. Yes. Valentina Sergeyevna lowered her head. I made the documents. I said that Anna is me. And the real Valentina died in a car accident. It turned out that you are my son, not my nephew. And I spent the money on your upbringing. We sold the apartment when you went to school and bought another, bigger one. The money from the account was spent on your education, clothes, food. When you turned 18, there was about 300 nisses. 000 left in the account. I withdrew it and spent it on your first year at the institute. You had no right. Andrei said quietly, I didn't have any. But I raised you, fed you, clothed you. This money was spent on you anyway. But not as a guardian reporting to the guardianship authorities, but as a mother doing what she wanted. Maxim carefully put his hand on Andrei's shoulder. Do I have any other relatives? Andrei asked. Your father had a sister, Tatiana Petrovna. She lives in St. Petersburg. After the funeral, we saw each other several times. But then I stopped keeping in touch. Why? I was afraid she would suspect something. Tatiana Petrovna is a smart woman. She could have guessed about the forgery of documents. Svetlana took a piece of paper with an address and phone number from her bag. Tatiana Petrovna Sokolova. Your aunt, on your father's side, works as a cardiologist at the clinic of the Military Medical Academy. She is a widow, has no children. She'll be glad to know that her nephew is alive and well. Andrei took the piece of paper. Where did you get her contact information? I found it through a detective. She thought for 30 years that you died with your parents. What? Valentina Sergeyevna cringed. I told her that you died in the accident. 2. I thought it would be easier. Easier for whom? Andrei exploded. You deprived me of my aunt. And her nephew. I was afraid. You were afraid that she would want to take me in. And then your scam with the documents would be revealed. Andrei stood up and walked around the room. 30 years. She thought I was dead. 30 years. Andrei, calm down. Maxim said softly. The main thing is that now you know the truth and can contact her. And where are my parents buried? At the Vagankovskoye cemetery. Valentina Sergeyevna answered. Plot number 17. Row 8. Andrei sat back in the chair and covered his face with his hands. I need time to process all this. I understand. Svetlana said. Tomorrow, we're going to file for divorce. If you want, we can postpone it. No. That's clear. We made the right decision. I just need to get used to the fact that my whole life was built on lies. Not all of it. Svetlana objected. Valentina Sergeyevna lied about the documents. But she raised you with love. You grew up to be a good person. That's not a lie. Svetlana is right. Maxim intervened. The circumstances in which you grew up do not determine who you become. Valentina Sergeyevna suddenly burst into tears. Andreyusha, forgive me. I know that I behaved terribly, but I really loved you. I still love you. Andrei looked at her for a long time. I know, and I love you, too. But trust will have to be restored again. I will do everything I can. Then start by calling Aunt Tanya, explaining what happened, and asking for forgiveness. Okay. I'll call tomorrow. A week later, Svetlana was sitting in a cafe with Ksenia Volkova. The private detective looked embarrassed. Svetlana Mikhailovna, I wanted to apologize for that evening. I didn't know what I was dragged into. Ksenia Andreevna, you were just doing your job. I have no complaints about you. It was awkward. Especially with your brother. How are things with Maxim and Andrei? Good. Maxim is happy. He says that Andrei is an amazing person. Honest. Kind. Reliable. It's true. It's just a pity that it took him 35 years to understand himself. And how are things with Valentina Sergeyevna? She works as a family consultant. Oddly enough, she's doing well. Apparently, her own mistakes have taught her to understand other people's problems. And she regularly pays back her debt of 10,000 a month. At this rate, she'll pay it off in 20 years. Are you ready to wait 20 years? Svetlana smiled. I'm not going to wait. In a year, when she proves that she has changed, I'll hurry to pay her debt. I didn't need money. I needed justice. Justice. She considered herself the mistress of Andrei's life for 30 years. Let her live for a couple of years, knowing that her life depends on others. Ksenia shook her head. You are an amazing woman. Most people in your place would simply leave, slamming the door. But I am not most. And then I was interested to see if I could outplay a person who considers me weak and stupid. We did. I did. And now I can live on peacefully. A month later, Svetlana stood at the window of her new apartment in the center of Moscow. The divorce was finalized quickly and without scandal. Andrei moved in with Maxim. She rented an apartment closer to work. The door opened, and Tatiana Petrovna Sokolova, Andrei's aunt on his father's side, walked in. An elegant woman of about 60, very similar to Andrei. Sviatochka. Thank you for inviting me for tea. Thank you for coming. Tatiana Petrovna. What was your impression of meeting your nephew? Amazing. He is so similar to my brother's Misha in both character and appearance. Kind. Honest. Decent. Andrei is a good person. And I really liked Maxim. They suit each other. You don't judge. Svetochka, I am a doctor. The most important thing for me is for a person to be healthy and happy. And Andrei is happy for the first time in many years. It is visible to the naked eye. Tatiana Petrovna sat down in an armchair and accepted a cup of tea. Tell me about Valentina Sergeyevna. Andrei says that you have come to an agreement with her. You could say so. She realized that the time for dictating terms has passed. Now she lives by my rules. And how does she cope with it? Surprisingly well. Works as a consultant. Helps married couples solve problems. They say she has a talent for explaining to people what lies lead to in relationships. Personal experience. Exactly. And she also improved her relationship with Andrei. For the first time in years, she stopped ordering him around. And he started listening to her. Are you planning to get married again? Svetlana thought about it. Not yet. I want to live for myself first. For 5 years, I have been proving that I am worthy of love and respect. Now I just want to enjoy life. And rightly so. At your age, you still have half your life ahead of you. Speaking of life, what do I have for you? Would you like to work as a chief physician of a private clinic when opening a medical center? You need an experienced manager. Tatiana Petrovna raised her eyebrows in surprise. Are you serious? Absolutely. The salary is 3 times higher than in the military academy. Complete freedom in making medical decisions. Modern equipment. Where did you get the money for a private clinic? Svetlana told about the inheritance. Tatiana Petrovna listened, her eyes wide open. My God. You are a millionaire. And you worked as a simple translator. I do. It's just that now I can afford to choose projects based on my interests, not on necessity. And you are asking me to become part of your business? I am asking me to become part of a new family. Andrei is dear to me. Despite the divorce, you are his aunt. That means you are not a stranger to me either. Tatiana Petrovna was touched. You know, Svetochka, I understand why Andrei loves you and why you managed to outplay Valentina Sergeevna. You have an amazing combination of mind and heart. You will say, yes, I will. But on one condition, if you meet a man who is worthy of you, promise not to let him go for fear of repeating past mistakes. I promise. In the evening, Svetlana was working on the computer when Andrei called. Svetlana, I have news. What, Aunt Tanya agreed to work at your clinic? And Maxim suggested that I move in with him permanently. That's great. Congratulations. And my mother, Valentina Sergeyevna, called and thanked you. For what? For giving her a chance to change. She says that for the first time in years, she feels needed by people. She really has changed. I saw her with clients yesterday. A completely different person. Svetlana, I wanted to say thank you for everything. For helping me find myself. For not breaking Valentina Sergeevna, but giving her the opportunity to improve. For introducing me to Aunt Tanya. Andrei. We agreed not to thank each other. We both got what we wanted. You got justice. And I got freedom. Exactly. And now we have a new life ahead of us. Without secrets and lies. Without secrets and lies. 6 months later, Svetlana was sitting in her office at the new clinic, looking over reports. Things were going well. The team was professional. The patients were happy. The profits were growing. The secretary looked into the office. Svetlana Mikhailovna, you have a visitor. He says it's a personal matter. Who? Valentina Sergeyevna Krylova. Svetlana was surprised. Valentina Sergeyevna strictly observed the terms of the contract and never showed up without an invitation. Show her out. Valentina Sergeyevna entered the office with a bouquet of flowers and an envelope in her hands. Hello. Svetlana Mikhailovna. Hello. What happened? Nothing bad. I just wanted to thank you and pass on something. She held out the envelope. What was it? A letter from Anna. Andrei's mother. She found it among old things when she was sorting out the closet. The letter was addressed to Andrei in case something happened to her. Svetlana took the envelope. On it, in a child's handwriting, was written, to my son Andrei. When he grows up? Why didn't you give it to him earlier? I was afraid. I thought there might be something there that would reveal my lie. And now Andrei knows the whole truth. And this letter will help him understand his mother better. Okay. I'll give it to him. Thank you. And I also wanted to say that you were right. All these years I tried to control Andrei's life because I was afraid of losing him. And in the end I almost lost him because of my fear. Valentina Sergeevna. No. Let me finish. You taught me that love is not about control, but about trust. And that people have the right to their own mistakes and their own decisions. And how does this knowledge help in my work? Very much. When parents come to me who want to arrange the personal life of their adult children, I tell them my story about what interference in someone else's destiny leads to. Valentina Sergeevna stood up. Thank you again for the lesson you taught me. For not breaking me, but teaching me. Valentina Sergeevna. How are you? How is your health? How is your mood? Good. For the first time in many years, I feel useful. My advice to people really helps. And Andrei. He loves me again. Differently than before. But he loves me. That's the main thing. Yes. Goodbye. Svetlana Mikhailovna. Goodbye. When Valentina Sergeyevna left, Svetlana sat for a long time, looking at the envelope with the letter. Then she dialed Andrei's number. Andrei, I have a gift for you from your mother. From your real mother. That evening, Svetlana stood on the balcony of her apartment and looked at the days of Moscow. Quiet music was playing behind her, and a cup of tea was on the table. A year ago, her life had seemed hopelessly confused. Her husband was hiding his true nature. Her mother-in-law was poisoning her every day. The future seemed foggy, and now she had a job that brought satisfaction. New relationships with people who valued her, and complete freedom of choice. Andrei was happy with Maxim. Valentina Sergeyevna turned from a family tyrant into a wise consultant. Tatiana Petrovna became not only a business partner, but also a close friend. And most importantly, Svetlana no longer had to prove her right to respect to anyone. She proved to herself that she was capable of defending her interests and achieving justice. The phone rang. An unfamiliar name appeared on the screen. Igor Sokolov. Lavier. Good evening. Svetlana Mikhailovna. Sorry for the late call. Did something happen? No. Everything is fine. I just wanted to ask if you were planning on getting married anytime soon. Svetlana laughed. Igor Vladimirovich. That's a strange question for a lawyer. I understand. I just know a cardiac surgeon. A widower. A very decent man. Tatiana Petrovna said that you wouldn't mind meeting new people. Tatiana Petrovna talks about too many things. Svetlana smiled. But yes, I don't mind. Just let me warn you. I'm not one of those women who are ready to pretend to be someone else for the sake of a relationship. That's exactly what he's looking for. An honest, smart, independent woman. Then pass on my number. I already have. He'll call tomorrow. Svetlana hung up and looked at the city again. Maybe there was a new love ahead. Maybe not. But now it didn't matter. She was free, successful and happy. And that was enough. The story that began with humiliation at the festive table ended with a complete victory, not revenge, not the destruction of the victory of reason over stupidity, honesty over lies, justice over tyranny. This is the kind of victory that Svetlana Mikhailovna Krylova, a woman who has never been tolerant, deserved. Thank you for listening to the end. If you found the story interesting, subscribe to the channel and like it so you don't miss new videos.